Some advocates may not be aware that OPA has over 800 volunteers working in a number of programs. Firstly, we have about 450 community visitors. These are fearless advocates who visit residential services, supported residential services in the community, disability houses and acute mental health facilities. They talk to residents in these facilities and they try and help them resolve issues at the local level. We also have the independent third person program where we sit in on police interviews wherever a person has an apparent cognitive impairment. And last year we sat on nearly 3,000 interviews, mostly with alleged offenders, but also with victims and witnesses. We have a very small program of independent correction officers, and they sit in on governors' hearings in prisons wherever a person has been charged with a disciplinary offence where that person has an intellectual disability. We also have a small number of community guardians who act as guardians in the community. We also have a policy and research team, and that team does a lot of our work on submissions where we try and look at systemic advocacy, and by that I mean we try and find themes in issues that we see both in our volunteer programs but in our guardianship programs, and we raise issues with government, with Senate inquiries, with Parliament, and sometimes we produce our own material to try and argue the case for a range of issues, and whether that's inclusion, supported decision making, or we've done extensive work on trying to prevent the abuse of people with a disability. We also have a telephone advice service. We take around 14,000 calls a year. Many of those calls will be from individuals, some of them asking for a community visitor, some will be asking for information on enduring powers of attorney, some will be asking for advice on guardianship. That's a lot of calls we take, and increasingly we're also now getting calls around healthcare decision making as a result of the new legislation that came into being in March this year. So the Medical Treatment Planning and Decisions Act is a new piece of legislation that sets out the powers of attorney for medical treatment, for medical decision makers. It also, for the first time, sets out the parameters for binding advanced care plans, but it also sets out the parameters for appointing OPA as the healthcare decision maker in circumstances where there is no one else to make that decision.